Right, a warm welcome to you from Geneva, Switzerland. I'm Rida Sadki here with Charlotte and Boo. We're both from the Geneva Learning Foundation. We're here with the rest of the TGLF team, Severine Giacomi-Vite, Yulia Yuchenko, and of course, many guests from our partners, and of course, the participants in this initiative, in this program. We're going to get to know each other in today's launch event and really focus on the experiences that you have. You'll be hearing about this in a few seconds. We're going to go very quickly, but again, you choose if and when you want to speak. And amongst you, there are those that we've called guests of honor that we'll be specifically calling on and hearing from today. Right, a warm welcome to you from Geneva, Switzerland. I'm Rida Sadki. I'm here with Charlotte and Boo. And we're going to dive right in with a little bit about the purpose of this event. And of course, first of all, this information card will be switching back and forth between English and Ukrainian. We hope this is not too confusing. You may look at a slide at one point and see English or Ukrainian. Don't worry, the other language is coming. If you cannot hear, you should definitely join the audio in this webinar. Here is the equivalent instruction in Ukrainian, hopefully as clear as the one in English. And then if you are, actually I'm going to show the Ukrainian first here. If you are listening to this in English, but you actually want to hear Ukrainian, then by all means you should switch not to the French, but to the Ukrainian channel. That's another slide we'll have to fix. So before we dive right in, we do have to go into the purpose of the event and the agenda, so you can see the purpose here. And the agenda is really we're going to be going through some of the information about who's joined the cohort, who we are as a group, but we're primarily going to focus on your experience and turning to you, in particular those that we've invited as guests of honor, to hear once again from your experiences and begin the sharing that will formally be starting tomorrow when we convene for the first time as a group for the first plenary session for the English language cohort. If you are listening to this in Ukrainian, do not panic. The Ukrainian cohort is starting as announced 2 weeks from tomorrow. We are only starting with the English. Now, 873 applicants, and of those, if you are here in our Zoom studio today, it is because you are one of the 371 participants who've been selected by the Geneva Learning Foundation and the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, the IFRC. Now, for the Anglophone cohort, you can see that there's a group of 25 countries, and you can see what the countries are and how many participants are from each country. I would say if you are the only representative of your country, that makes your participation even more important. We hope that you will have a great experience and share this with your colleagues for the next cohort. As a cohort, the next cohort is already being planned for fall 2024. For the Ukrainian language cohort, you can see that most of the participants are actually living in the Ukraine, but you can also see that there are participants from 13 countries in Europe. So this is where we're going to mark our first stop and turn to those of you who are with us in our Zoom studio. And here is your first question. We'd like to hear from you. First of all, do not forget to introduce yourself. We are mindful at all times of protecting confidentiality and child rights. And we want to ask you, what was your most important reason to apply? So I think we may, so this is not yet the time to share your experiences in a specific situation in which you provided support to a child or a group of children. This was one of the questions in the application. I see many messages in our studio, so I'm going to turn to Charlotte to guide me to to the first person who's going to respond to this question. And meanwhile, I think we can catch up a little bit on some of the messages that have been flying by in the Zoom room. But over to you, Charlotte.
Thank you, Reda. We have Victoria Tishchenko. Your mic is already unmuted, so please go ahead and answer the question and do not forget to introduce yourself.
Дякую. Thank you. I am Victoria Tishchenko. I'm from Kharkov. Yes, we work in the Kharkiv region. Everybody knows that every day Kharkiv region is shelled. Everybody knows that schools are not working in Kharkiv and children are forced to learn online. The only school is underground, in the underground station. And our psychologists do very important work, and therefore I've applied to this project because I was interested in hearing what we can borrow and apply in our work in our region. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much indeed, Charlotte. Back to you, and thank you, Victoria Tishchenko.
Thank you, Reda. So we have Seri Fedorov. Are you able to unmute? We also have Alexandra, if I'm not mistaken. Are you able to inviting you to unmute yourself? Okay, please go ahead.
I see more hands raised that don't have their microphones activated yet. I'm just activating them in case you haven't seen them yet, Charlotte. And please do go ahead and turn on your microphone so we don't have a delay as somebody who hasn't got all their equipment working or hasn't heard us, or hasn't heard our prompt. Go ahead, Charlotte. And there I see two microphones unmuted. I'm not sure who we are going to hear from, but I'm also asking two more people, including Oksana Lonska.
Yeah, so we have quite a number of hands that are raised.
Right.
I'm sure they're trying to figure out how to go about unmuting. Irina, are you able to speak with us? Or Oksana?
If you're talking about Irina, Stefan, I'm able to.
Hello, I am Oksana Lonska. I'm from Ukraine, but I'm currently working in Poland at the mobilization organization in Poland, and I'm coordinating group work with children who have suffered from the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine. I've applied here because I believe it is important to use PFA and to provide quality help to children, and sharing this experience with colleagues from all over Europe is important to improve the quality of our work.
All right, thank you very much indeed. And I believe it was indeed Irina Stefan that we'll hear from next. Irina, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello everybody. Yeah, I'm here in Zurich working with the Ukrainian refugees. Yeah, with the families, I mean kids and the family and caregivers. And sometimes I see that I have quite not enough knowledge or experience in giving them fast psychological help. So I would better study something from my colleagues, and so that to deliver a better psychological support to these families. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irina. Just to acknowledge Josh Lee from the Psychosocial Support Center, who's in our studio with us, of course, and we're going to be introducing our distinguished guest, and he is one of them. If you don't see an option to turn on the microphone, of course, this will be switched on when we come to you. If you are one of the guests of honor, then what we ask is that you raise your hand so that we can identify you. And I see many raised hands indeed, and then we'll come to you. But for it to be in an orderly fashion, we do ask if you can first put a message in the chat. So we do want to welcome and share the welcome to participants from this program's principal partners. And you are actually not going to hear from them yet, because this is about your experience, the experiences that you have. But they are an impressive group of distinguished guests, and we'll be turning to them as what we call guides on the side. After they have listened to some of the experiences that you share, then we will go to them and ask them for their reflections, their insights, and perhaps some relevant elements of their own experience as well. So we have Judith Nemeth Elmasi from Terre des Hommes. A warm welcome to you, Judith. Panu Suristo, who's a senior leader at the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent societies specializing in global health, emergency management, and disaster response, and Joshua Lee, who's a technical advisor with the IFRC Psychosocial Center based in Copenhagen, Denmark. Now, we also have a number of individuals, and we're just going to share two of them who've been invited by our team specifically, Relita, and we wanted to highlight their involvement, their participation, their support, their enthusiasm. And I'm only going to name two of them here. Natalia Kornienko, who has a decade of experience in MHPSS and currently the mental health delegate at the IFRC based in Poland, and then Nikolina Stankovic, a psychologist at the Asylum and Migration Department of the Croatian Red Cross. So as I say, we're going to move really fast, and what we're asking our guides on this side today to do is to listen to the experiences that are shared and then to share your reflections. So that is when you will go beyond the very quick initial introduction that I have shared with you. And again, for more project background information, there's always what we call the landing page available in both English and Ukrainian. Now, before we dive in, due to the nature of the topic and the situation, we do want to mark a pause. We do not usually do this in our programs, but in this particular case, it is absolutely warranted, necessary, and important to review the guidelines for safety and confidentiality. And these are all items that have been shared with you before around confidentiality and safety. And this first thing is the trust that we have in each other and the legitimate concerns that you may have for confidentiality and safety. And we ask you to be mindful of that as you work together, as you learn together, as you share your experience, as you hear others sharing their experience. The second commitment, of course, that we have all made, those of us who are here, who've been selected on the basis of the application that you submitted, is, of course, your agreement to child safeguarding principles. So there's a lot of experience in the room, in the cohort, in the group. You'll see when we start the learning activities tomorrow, you will feel the extent to which really we are responsible and accountable to each other to make sure that child safeguarding principles are adhered to. And then the third commitment we ask you to make is to professional duties and obligations. So whatever your employer or your government requires you, we ask that you fully respect and abide by the regulations, restrictions, whatever the requirements may be that you have. We cannot know what they are, but you should know what they are and ensure that anything in the program that you may not be able to participate in or contribute to due to these rules that you have in place in your place of work, that is fine. We understand that. We do ask you if you can share that as well. Now, when we speak about sharing stories, if we choose to use your specific stories or examples, we want to recognize your contribution, but of course, it is entirely your decision, your choice, if you wish to be named or if you wish to remain anonymous. As a community of learners, we support each other to fully respect children's rights, and we remind you again to respect the privacy and rights of all third parties, especially the children themselves. And this leads now to the first sharing of experience around the one challenge that you would like help with. And of course, don't forget to introduce yourself, protect confidentiality and child rights, and share this challenge and, of course, the situation or the experience that you've had that's led you to identify this challenge. And this is where I'm going to turn back to Charlotte to help us identify our next speaker.
Thank you, Reda. We have Anna Pokorska, whose mic is unmuted. Anna, over to you, and please do start by introducing yourself.
Доброго дня усім.
Hello, everybody.
Мене звати Анна Покровська.
My name is Anna Pokrovska. I work with children from 4 to 18 who arrived in the Netherlands from Ukraine. Unfortunately, at this difficult time, I am looking after children in very different emotional situations. I can see their emotional response, the emotional response of their parents. I can see how difficult it is for children to part with their family, to transition, to adapt.
Тому я би хотіла
So I would like
сьогодні поділитися також
today
своїм досвідом, тому
to
що
share
я
my
була
experience
психологом, який
because I
допоміг
was
втілити
the
в життя
psychologist that
спеціальний
helped
проєкт «Школа для дітей» в
introduce
Нідерландах,
a
де
special
було
project in the
220
Netherlands,
дітей
implement a
в
special project in the Netherlands
одному учбовому
with 21
Це 220
children.
дітей.
These,
Всі
sorry,
приїхали
221
з
children.
України.
Well, these
Вони
221 children came from Ukraine
окупованій, і
and
для
they
них
were
це було
suffering from the
просто
war,
шоковим
and
станом. Нова
they were in
країна,
a
все
state of
нове,
shock in a new
і
country.
вони
Everything was
настільки
new,
були
and they were
емоційно
so
дестабілізовані,
emotionally
що команда
destabilized
нідерландських колег,
that
українських
together
колег,
with the
ми
team of our
запустили спеціальний
Netherlands
проєкт, щоб
colleagues,
допомогти
we
їм
launched a
трошки
special project to
заземлитися,
help them
відчути взагалі ритм
ground
життя,
themselves, to
відчути,
help
що життя
them
продовжується,
feel that life goes
незважаючи ні
on
на що, і
despite everything,
почати заново
and to
будувати
start
соціальне життя.
afresh, to start
Ми навіть
building
не
their
торкалися
social
теми
life.
учбового
We
процесу,
didn't
тому
even
що
touch upon the
концентрація
topic of
уваги,
studies
тому
because
що
uh,
когнітивні
their
усі навики у дітей, на
cognitive
жаль,
skills
на шоковому травмі вони були
were
неможливі. І тому я запускала
absent
цей
due to
проєкт,
the shock
і
and the
дуже гарний
trauma. So I
результат. І
launched
я
this
можу
project, and we
сказати,
have
що
very
зараз
good
я бачу
results.
дітей,
And
зустрічаю
I
їх
see
у
children
місті,
now
де я
when
живу зараз в
I come across
Нідерландах.
them in the city where I
Вони
live in the
посміхаються,
Netherlands. They are
деякі
smiling.
досі виглядають дуже
Some
розгубленими.
until
Але
recently were
принаймні, по-перше,
lost,
вони знають,
but
як саме
at least
регулювати себе
they
емоційно,
know
тому
how
що ми
to
багато
self-regulate
над цим
emotionally
працювали. Ми взагалі
because
почали
they did a lot
з
of work on that.
перших кроків
We
це
started
без
with the
слів,
first
тому що вони не
steps
могли говорити.
without
Вони не могли говорити про війну в
words
Україні. Вони не могли
because they
дати
couldn't speak.
вербальну
They couldn't
форму
speak
своєму
about
болю і
the
своїй
war in
травмі.
Ukraine. They
Тому
couldn't
почали
translate
з
their pain
мистецтва.
verbally.
Ми почали з
And
музики,
so we
ми
started with
почали з
art, with
ударів
music,
барабанів, щоб
with
весь
drum
свій біль,
rolls,
весь свій
so
страх
that
вибити в цих
they could
барабанах.
uh,
Ми почали з
they could express
театрального
their
мистецтва.
pain and their fear through these drum
просто
rolls.
робити з ними протестні
And
вправи.
we began to do art
Тому
exercises with
зараз я
them.
бачу дітей,
And
які
I can
принаймні
see
бояться
children now
заглядати в
who
майбутнє, але
are
вони
not yet
вже
ready to look
почали
to the future,
робити
but they
перші
have
кроки на
started
перспективу
to make
свого життя.
first
І,
steps
на жаль,
to
зараз
plan
складна
their
ситуація з
lives.
дітьми,
Unfortunately,
які
it is still
знаходяться в
remains
позбавленій
difficult
початковій школі,
for
тому що вони
children who
дуже
are in
складно
primary
розуміють
school
підлітків
because it's
і
very
дуже
difficult
складно
for them.
адаптуються.
Unlike
І
for
зараз я
teenagers,
також
it's
проводжу дослідження
and
і
I'm doing some
є психологом,
research.
який споглядає за поведінкою
And I
дітей в
am
школі.
observing
І я бачу,
their
що
behavior
діти між
in
собою
school, and I can see
спілкуються,
that Ukrainian children
але коли вони
talk
заходять
among
до класів
themselves, but when they
зі
enter
своїми
classrooms
однокласниками нідерландськими
with their
дітьми, вони
classmates from the
закриваються, у
Netherlands,
них
they
немає,
shut off,
на жаль, усього
they
розвитку
clamp up,
когнітивного вчити
they
мову.
don't
Це
yet have
неможливо.
the
І для мене це
cognitive
також велике
readiness
питання,
to learn a
чому
new
так виходить,
language.
чи це
And
стрес,
I wonder why that
чи це
is, whether this
емоційно
is
взагалі
stress or that this
зараз
is their
підход
emotional
і
response. They have
потрібна
this
допомога.
barrier
І я
and
також
they need
спостерігаю за
help.
батьками,
So I
які
also
є великим,
observe their
скажімо, фоновим
parents
фоном для
who
дитячого емоційного
are
розвитку, і
an
їм дуже
excellent
важко
background to the
також.
children's
Ну,
emotional
а так само,
development.
як дитячий психолог,
And
я бачу,
as
все
child
взаємопов'язано.
psychologists, we know that this
І
is all
ось
interconnected
діти на
and
протязі
that
2,5 років
children
не можуть
the
знайти
children for the
спокій.
last 2.5 years have not been
Тому
able to find
для мене
peace.
ця конференція дуже
So for
важлива,
me,
тому
this
що
event is very
Господь для наших
important
дітей, їх
because our
ментальне
children's
здоров'я – це наше
peace and
майбутнє,
calm and their
нашої
mental health is our
нації. І
future. It's the future of our
дитинство повинно бути
nation.
щасливим. Тому у мене
Childhood should be
дуже
happy.
багато сподівань на
So I have great
взаємодію з
hopes
колегами, і я буду
for
дуже рада
cooperation with my
також зробити
colleagues,
вклад від
and
себе. Я дуже
I
дякую.
look forward to contributing as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. So the question is, what is one challenge that you would like help with? Of course, you can share a little bit about your experience here. We're really asking you to focus on one challenge. We'll be coming later to really what you will be doing in this program starting tomorrow, which is developing a case study. And there we'll ask you to share a specific situation and ask you to consider it, including considerations in relation to psychological first aid. Now, Charlotte, who shall we hear from next? And I see many more hands raised than we're going to be able to listen to in this segment. But again, there will be many other times where the most of this event is going to be dedicated to the sharing of experience of participants who are going to be starting to learn together tomorrow. This is really a launch event to bring together both Ukrainian-speaking and English-speaking communities for the first time. Charlotte?
So we have 4 mics that are open, but I'll start in order of the unmuting with Alexandra Zorek. Alexandra, over to you.
Hi, hello, thanks. So my name is Alexandra and I am from Poland and I'm with Positive Education Institute. In Poland, we work with Ukrainian refugee children in schools throughout whole Poland. Mostly our background is in mental health, and we give to different schools ideas, scenarios, and also trainings to teachers how to work with Ukrainian children so that their mental health is taken into account while teaching them. And something that at the moment our biggest challenge, I guess, is the deciphering and seeing the difference between the behaviors of children when it comes to their trauma that they have experienced, and at the same time seeing whether if it's trauma or some other challenges, some other mental challenges that they had before they came to Poland, before they had this trauma was experienced. So this is something some challenge that we are facing. So, and we are also thinking about finding more guidance, ideas, case studies when it comes to implementing diverse classroom scenarios so that we can also teach that to our teachers in Polish schools. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, for everyone who is listening, we're going to turn to the guides on the side. So our distinguished guests from really partners for this program, from the key partners. But as I would like to invite everyone to really listen actively and to think, is this challenge something that I face too? Is this my challenge too, or is it different? How is it different? What does it mean in my context? What sounds like might be different for this person or another person who just spoke? And really that process of reflecting, relating this challenge that we just heard back to your own situation is part of what we'll be inviting and encouraging you to do throughout the program. So back to you, Charlotte. I think we'll hear one more challenge and then we'll turn to our guides on the side to hear what their thoughts are so far about what they've been listening to.
Yes, Reda. So we have Breda. Breda, your mic is already unmuted. Over to you.
Thank you. So my name is Breda Špacapan. I'm from Slovenia. I work at Institute EMA, that is a Center for Victims of Violence. And we're a non-governmental organization. In general, we offer psychosocial support to victims of domestic violence, but for the last 2 years, we have been working in partnership, an independent partnership with UNHCR, UN Refugee Agency, that is funding the project. So through this project, we offer psychosocial support to temporary protection holders that are Ukrainians in Slovenia, and also to asylum seekers and refugees in the asylum homes in Slovenia. So we don't work directly with Ukrainian children, but indirectly with the parents, because there are a lot of families here in Slovenia accommodated, also large families with small children. Issues the psychosocial support that we offer is mostly regarding issues in school or child raising or socialization or education or examples of that. The challenge that we are encountering is more in the organizational sense regarding cooperation with other providers of services for the beneficiaries. Mostly the challenges is in relations between governmental and non-governmental institutions. Sometimes our work overlaps when we go to asylum homes with the work of the staff that is employed in the asylum homes and reception centers. And usually when our work overlaps with them, that becomes an issue because there are certain situations when we recognize, or with children or with the families, that we need to do something or be more active about certain issue, and we put it forward to the staff, and the staff does not respond the way we think they should if we are gathering information from the field. So there is a lack of good communication between us, and that's our main challenge. The better organization and communication between different providers of services, but mostly with the governmental institutions that are currently understaffed or maybe not appropriately, all of them appropriately educated. So it's sometimes hard to communicate when we encounter fragile individuals, especially minors, underage children, when we need to act more fast, but on the other side, we don't get the positive feedback. So that is the biggest challenge, because we want to help and everybody that needs it most, but in the end, our hands are tied and we have to step back because it's not in our jurisdiction. So how to communicate better and better organize in this field.
Thank you, Breda. And of course, we'll come back to challenges like yours to think about how they relate or not to the theme of this program, which is psychological first aid, and using this lens, this PFA tool as a lens to better understand specific situations. So we'll definitely come back to that. Before we turn to our guides on the side, we wanted to provide the guides and partners with a perspective on who is joining this, the first cohorts. You've already seen the list of countries, so 25 countries where, of course, limited to those who can speak English, and we realize that can be a significant barrier, that this is really the first cohort, and then second, Ukrainian-language cohort with 14 countries represented, including, of course, the largest contingent from the Ukraine. Now, here is a little bit about what the cohort looks like. So you can see on the left-hand side, the Anglophones and the Ukrainians. So mostly 85-86% of selected participants who've been accepted into this first cohort are women. The remainder, of course, are men. Now, relationship to the Ukrainian community, you can see that the biggest number see themselves or consider themselves to be members of the family. You can see then some differences between the two cohorts, between a trusted friend being third on the list, which makes sense, and second on the list for the Ukrainian speaking cohort, which is primarily composed of Ukrainian speakers in the Ukraine. Now, who are the children? So you can see that this is characterized by diversity. And for those of you who attended the information briefing, remember, we presented much of the same information. The difference here is these are the participants that starting today, you're going to hear a few people share their experiences, and in the next 2 weeks, you will be really getting to know each other, working side by side, learning from each other, sharing intensely and deeply experiences for those of you who are ready to do so, and all of us will be learning together. So you can see here who are the children that both groups are working with. You can also see in terms of the representation of Red Cross staff and volunteers, as well as volunteers from organizations other than the Red Cross. You can see the organizations represented. Interestingly, it's primarily NGOs and educational research organizations on both sides, for both language groups. For in terms of professional roles, again, you can see that in both cohorts, most of you are mental health professionals, even though other professional categories are also well represented. Now, we just asked you this question about your most difficult challenge, and you can see that for the Anglophone group, so there's a lot of, the top responses, 21, 26, 27, is actually quite close. But at the top is stigma and misconceptions about mental health, and then, of course, the impacts of the crisis on children. On the Ukrainian side, it's continually involving needs and circumstances and limitations in personal capacity or expertise that are the top two items. Again, they're quite closely ranked here. Now, in terms of support needs for psychological first aid, we asked you, have you experienced the need for support to do any of these things? And at the top of both lists, you can see for both language groups how to help a child deal with a painful experience. I'm sure you'll be hearing from the guides on the side, as well as from Yulia Yushchenko and Séverine Giacomi-Vite from the Geneva Learning Foundation team, how exactly psychological first aid can help you do that for those of you who do not yet have PFA experience. And this is a very important point on this slide here, is that you can see that there's a large number, especially on the Anglophone side, of people who don't have experience with psychological first aid. And so for those of you who are in that particular situation, you've already been invited to complete the e-learning module that will give you some of the basics about not just PFA in general, but also PFA for children, as you can see here. And again, even if you don't have PFA experience, you still have experience that you will be able to share. And again, look at this experience. What you learn from others, from those with that experience with PFA, will be how to apply the lens of psychological first aid to situations that you have already experienced. Then there's also a large number. There's a lot of expertise as well as experience in both groups. And you can see that here. Many of you have been trained, and some of you are, in fact, trainers who deliver training on psychological first aid. And what we'll ask you is for, first and foremost, for your indulgence, knowing that there are in fact people with little or no experience with PFA, and we ask for those of you who are more senior, more experienced, to again, in the spirit of peer learning, to share that experience. Now, before we go to this question, I now want to turn to the guides, and I see Séverine Giacomi-Vite. I think we'll start with you, Séverine, before we go to our project partners. You're part of the Geneva Learning Foundation team, but you shared a very interesting comment. Let me see if I can bring it up on screen. Before we go to the next set of questions. Séverine?
Yes, hello, Reda. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great. Well, it's I find these initial experiences and challenges shared like super interesting. I think they already point to the fact that during the program we will be addressing PFA for children in practice. How you all use it, maybe use it without really knowing it, and how we can all improve this practice, but also seeing how PFA for children can help us work better with caregivers. For example, we heard, a colleague wondering about the mental health background of some children, and it's by connecting also with caregivers that we can get some information to better work with children, better support them. And also, I strongly believe that PFA for children, as a tool that would be recognized by different partners as a common tool, can also help to a certain extent bridge these communication challenges with, for example, with government agencies that we heard about. So yeah, very exciting, very good examples, and really looking forward to hearing more. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, Séverine. Now we go to our first project partner, and that is Judith Nemeth Omasi, who's been working for Terre des Hommes for the past 15 years. Judith, do introduce yourself, but what we're really most interested in is with the considerable experience and expertise that you have in this area, these first few participants who are going to be starting some pretty intensive sharing of experience tomorrow. You heard a little bit about challenges, a little bit about their motivation. What would you like to say to them, and what's on your mind? What did it make you feel in terms of this event today?
Thank you. So yes, I am Judith and I work for Terre des Hommes, but the reason I'm here is because we are delighted to be partners of the Geneva Learning Foundation and IFRC for hosting the PFA for Children e-learning course on the Child Protection Hub. And right after I spoke, I will put the link in the chat so that you can follow it. It's available in English and Ukrainian. And as Reda has said, it's a really good starting point for anyone who has not learned about PFA for children even before you start the peer learning. I'm absolutely delighted to be here and feel this very positive energy in this group, in this room, even if it's just online. And I must say that I think you will find support not only in terms of experiences, but also in terms of your own mental health, because I think you will find that you're not alone. You're not alone with your problems and your challenges, and that other people are experiencing similar things. And just by this fact alone, just having this mutual feeling will help you, I think, to continue your amazing and wonderful work. It's just wonderful to hear from all of you. I'm totally floored at all the experience sharing that's going on here. Thank you very much for inviting me. And as I say, I will share the link where you can follow the course. Thank you.
Indeed, thank you. And just and in fact, we are recommending this e-learning module that has now been developed by the Geneva Learning Foundation with IFRC and published by Terre des Hommes on the excellent Child Hub website. Now, we are going to hear next from Panu Suristo from the IFRC. However, it seems we do have an issue. It seems that he has borrowed a link which does not show his name. So we have 5 people with Amanda's name. So I'm going to allow them all to talk, and I hope that one of them will be Panu Suristo, so we can hear from him. And again, as a guide on the side, Panu, what we're asking you to do is on the basis of just these few stories, few experiences that you heard, what would you like to say? You may be getting some feedback. I hope that's you, Panu Suristo. Please do introduce yourself and then tell us what you've heard so far. What did it make you feel?
Indeed, you unmuted me. Thank you very much. It's really great to be working again with Geneva Learning Foundation and Terre des Hommes at this time. So I'm really looking forward to following you, even if from a distance, but still through your learning journey. It's been very motivating and intriguing to listen to your connection points and your engagement in this area. And that really resonates with the first point that I think is important in learning, which is that it needs to be relevant. Nobody wants to learn things where you don't feel the urgency, you don't feel that this is something that you truly need. And you, the foundation, us, our technical hub, the psychosocial center, our technical advisor, we have really worked hard to make this as relevant as possible for those who work with children who have fled from the war in Ukraine. And that's not an easy task because the needs are so it can come in so many various forms because people have fled to many places, and we obviously don't know that. So for me, it's very hard to think of any better way of learning than exactly a cohort-based and peer-to-peer learning that connects almost live the learners to each other, where they get to share about get to share their experiences and get ideas from each other. Secondly, I think that the learning needs to be memorable and it needs to be fun. Even if the issues that we are dealing with are heavy, sometimes the stories are more than one would like to bear. But it's important, and the learning opportunity and the learning journey needs to be fun in the sense that it makes a permanent memory imprint in your memory. Only that way can you really learn things that are relevant and then become memorable. So thank you for sharing. I'm sure that you will enjoy the journey, and good luck, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Panos Aristo from the IFRC. Next, we'll go to Joshua Lee, the technical advisor with the Psychosocial Center based in Copenhagen, Denmark, and an advisor for this project. We appreciate you joining us today, Joshua. You, of course, as a PFA trainer, have heard dozens, probably hundreds of stories and experiences shared. So I'd love to hear, first, of course, do introduce yourself, but what did you hear listening to the first few challenges and the motivation for people who have now been accepted into this program?
Hi, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here calling up in Copenhagen. Britta, I actually missed the last bit of your question as I was getting unmuted. Could you repeat your question so I stay on task?
Sure. So I understand, of course, as a PFA, as an experienced, seasoned PFA trainer, you've heard dozens, probably hundreds of stories of experiences shared by professionals about how they support children. What did you feel? What's your reflection upon hearing just the first few speakers were sharing their motivation and their challenges, the challenges that they're facing?
Yeah, thank you. I think already it's clear that this is a complex issue. I think PFA, while being simple and scalable and supposed to be able to spread to as many people as possible, we understand that when you work with children, it's their caregivers, their parents, their family members, the teachers, the people around them that are also so important to support. So I think I heard that pop up, and this is a very, very common point of feedback from a lot of participants in the trainings we've conducted and also interacted from the Red Cross societies. So I think, especially as this conflict in Ukraine continues, it's already been over 2 years. We have so many different issues popping up where this is not a short-term issue. It's a conflict that goes on, and the impact on children and families and their mental health, it's even more important the longer it goes. And sadly, people or governments may feel like this they're not sure how to do it. So this course and the people in this training, I think the questions they raise will really help guide not just the work we do in this immediate learning cohort, but inform how we plan our activities and implementation going forward to support Ukrainians and especially their children.
Thank you, Joshua. Now, I was showing the Psychosocial Center website. As you know, most of the participants in the cohort, many of them work for NGOs outside the Red Cross movement. What can you tell them? What can they find here that will be useful to their journey as they make sense of their experience and learn to use the psychological first aid as a lens to do so, to learn and grow?
Yeah, so this is our website for the center, and it is all materials are available for free. We have podcasts, as you see up there. We have training videos on specific mental health topics, and also reports. So any of this information may be helpful to any of you, ranging from somebody who needs a quick reference for comparing different PFA manuals, perhaps, or perhaps some of you are trainers yourselves and want to see for professional growth other opportunities and other interventions to use. I want to highlight that the Psychosocial Center also serves on this website, but in general, as a key outcome, we want to highlight the efforts being made by different national societies all around the world. And specifically, right now in Europe, we have a large project funded by EU for Health, where we've been working with 25 different national societies in the EU and Ukraine. And they have translated, they have adapted, they have contextualized a lot of material. So we're constantly gathering that and putting it on our website. So a lot of times the hard work is being done by the national societies who take a look at what we've made, which is not supposed to be perfect. It's not the end of the journey. We encourage national societies to go ahead and figure out what makes most sense for their context. So we're very flexible. All this material is on our website and we're constantly updating it, so please check.
Great.
If you're
and Joshua, just to
within the Red
clarify,
Cross-
if you're not from the Red Cross, you can still find useful resources and use them,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's a I even before I joined the Red Cross, I was also checking this website constantly. But
Great.
a note for those of you who are also perhaps interested in translating yourself, even if you're not part of the Red Cross, if you have funding or any interest to, we're also open for you to contact us and see. We want to make our materials as widely available as possible. So you can reach out to us and we can work with you on translating any of our material that you see on the website.
Great. Thanks, Joshua. And we look forward to and appreciate your support, your ongoing support to this program and this initiative. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
So you've met now some of the Progress project partners. Again, for the sake of time, I think we're going to keep this very short. I'm just going to show you the three of us. We're going to be facilitating the coming exercise, the English language one starting tomorrow, and the Ukrainian language starting in 2 weeks. So first of all, you've already seen me on screen, so I won't spend any time on myself, but I do want to introduce Charlotte Mbou, who's a public health specialist with a broad range of experience, including now going on 5 years at the Geneva Learning Foundation, and Yulia Yushchenko, a mental health professional with over 7 years of experience in the humanitarian sector. So that we will be the three facilitators on the sort of front end, front office that you'll be interacting with in the coming weeks, and we very much look forward to getting to know you. Now, we want to go back to sharing of experience, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower all of the attendees' hands, hopefully that will, and ask you to raise your hand again if you would like to share your experience by answering this particular question. Have you had to do any of these? And I realize that most of you, I'm sure, have a lot, and it's part of your professional practice, but we'd really love to hear a little bit more about a specific situation in which you did this, and explain to us what happened, how you did it, so that we can, as this is the sort of sharing of experience that we'll be doing in particular in the peer support sessions. So I see two hands raised. We're also going to ask you if you have already spoken, unless you really feel strongly that you have more to say and it's really important to allow someone else to speak. I see Ekaterina Carmen Nita has her microphone unmuted. Ekaterina, which one of these would you like to focus on? And can you tell us about a situation, what you did, what happened, and how it turned out?
Hello, everybody. My name is Ekaterina Carmen Nita from Romanian Red Cross. I want to speak about the children, from Ukrainian children. The first contact when I have with refugee from Ukraine was about in the beginning of conflict. They arrive a large number of mothers with children, and we don't know what to do. From the beginning, I initiate workshop for children, and I realized that the psychological first aid is necessary because the children, we need to stay safe and to be in a warm place. Which is why I started a workshop with drawing and painting. that had a positive impact for the children. Through free drawing, they could express themselves, their feeling. But this workshop, I didn't do it from the beginning. Only after the gaining the children trust. This is important for the children.
Thank you, Ekaterina. So I think this is actually the right moment to introduce the case study that you'll be working on, because what you just shared is what we will ask you to put into the first section of your case study, which is really to write out, to describe the situation, describe what happened and what you did. Going beyond this, though, we'll also be asking you to analyze and reflect on your story. So in this particular case, could you share a little bit about how you've reflected, since this was probably, I'm guessing, maybe 2 years ago or so? You didn't say exactly, but that's fine.
Yes. Yes.
What's your reflection? Now that time has gone by, you no longer in that immediate acute crisis, and you have more experience than you did at the time. What reflection, what lesson learned would you like to share? Maybe just one. I'm sure there are many, but just one that you'd like to share with the group.
It needs to more open for the children. It needs to be safe. It's important to be safe.
Okay. Yep. All right. And then when it comes to the principles of psychological first aid, can you tell us what is your experience with PFA? Is this a tool that you have used in particular at that time or since? If, unless you haven't completed the e-learning module yet, at the very least, in case you do not have the experience or you did not have it, how can you look at the situation you just described, the response that you and your colleagues had through the lens of psychological first aid?
I didn't have experience on psychological first aid, but I have a volunteer who has experience with children. They are teachers, and they know to share to work with children, and they know to have patience, to have gaining the children trust.
Okay, understood. And I'm showing on screen again. I'd like to ask if our team can post the links again. You'll all be receiving, and you'll be receiving multiple reminders in case you do not complete this e-learning module, especially those of you who do not have the specific experience with PFA. So those are the first 3 sections of what we will ask you to put into your case study. The fourth section, and this is a question, the next question I'd like to ask you, Ekaterina, is how did you know if what you did, your response, helped the children to cope better and improve their well-being? Can you tell us what it is that you observed, what change there was once you established this response with your colleagues?
Yes, I have a workshop with another children from the school, from the local school. They have activities together, they play together, they regain their childhood. It was a change of emotion.
Okay. And then the final part, the 5th part of your case study will be to take this experience that you just summed up. And of course, here we did it very quickly, and we're primarily because we're interested in hearing from at least a few other people, a few of our guests of honor, based on your case studies, lessons learned, and the needs of children. Perhaps it's already a local project. If so, tell us about that. But can you tell us what's beyond the immediacy of what you did what you could, how could you turn what you did, your experience, into an idea for an actual project, an initiative that would strengthen support for the mental health and psychosocial well-being of the affected children?
Yes, I think we need to introduce the painting and the drawing in the activity, in the most principal activity of the children. In this drawing, they share their emotion. It's more easy for them than spoke, than tell us what they feel. Then we can, with ask, with a question, we can find what they need and how we help them.
Okay, and can you tell us, out of this initial experience, trying to support children, but also their families, has this turned into, in fact, an ongoing project, or was it really just part of the immediate response?
It was an immediately response.
Okay. All right. So one of the ways in which what we'll be inviting you to think about as you develop your case study, and is really to think, well, if you were to use this experience to develop a project, something that you could do sustainably with other colleagues, using the resources that you have available and working with the Ukrainian children and their families, what could that look like over time? And this may be very different. It may not at all fit for some of the cases, some of the experiences, and in other cases may be quite appropriate. Now, there are two things I would like to say. First, both have to do with time. As you can see, we're now at the 54th minute of this launch event. And you probably noticed for those of you who took the time to review the schedule, that in many cases we say there's a 30-minute session, and then we say, well, we'll start 30 minutes before, and then we'll extend it by 30 minutes. And this is your choice. The main challenge for adult learners is, in fact, time. That is the most precious resource, and we know that every adult learner, every professional who is trying to learn, to do better, to share their experience, is going to struggle with time. So two points I want to make. First of all, in developing your case study, as you can see, you will have to write up your case study over the course of the 4 coming days. We realize that is a very short time. What we'll ask you to do is to reduce the scope, be less ambitious in order to be able to finish and submit on time. Then you'll have 5 days to complete 3 peer reviews. This is where you look at the case studies of your colleagues and give them feedback. And then another 5 days to really revisit your experience and then revise your case study using the feedback from your colleagues. So here we are at the 55th minute. We probably in principle have to end in 5 minutes. And so I want to ask the assembly, those of you who have been selected to join the first cohort for English starting tomorrow, if you would like to extend this launch event in order to hear from more of our guests of honor, to hear from more experiences before we close. We're certainly willing to do that. We realize some of you may have professional duties that make it impossible for you to stay longer. But if the answer for you is yes, and you would in fact like to stay longer, then I would urge you to type yes. Yes, okay, Ina Kovalenko guessed what I was going to say. So if you just go to the chat and type yes. And of course, we fully understand if you have to go, you have to go. For example, Wendy Salisbury, we completely understand. We'll make the recording available first to course participants. And of course, we have the interpreters who are here with us until 2:30. So I think the yeses have it. I'm not going to be able to show everybody's name, but just a few. Thank you for the willingness to stay longer. It is one of the key challenges for adult learners. And yes, Irina, who asked, should we receive instructions for the case study? Indeed, you will find in your inbox after this meeting. Hamid, of course, we understand if you have an appointment with a patient, that takes precedence. But for those of you who are able to stay, Anastasia as well, we understand you have to go. Let's then hear from the next person. Charlotte, who shall we hear from next?
All right, I'm inviting Irina. Irina, your mic is already unmuted, so please go ahead.
Hello, вітаю вас.
Hello, my name is Irina Vorontsova. I work in Bulgaria together with the Ukrainian refugees and their families who are raising children with special needs. And the main challenge that I've come across is primarily that children watch the state of their parents. And so my number one priority is to stabilize the parents. That's very important. And it is important to remember that Ukrainians who are working with people also are traumatized, and we too need to control our own burnout, supervise ourselves, and provide psychotherapy to ourselves. And my main finding was that I've worked with children who lost their speech skills, who are autistic children who were verbal before and have stopped being verbal, so they've regressed. And that's a difficult category of children who have been through the trauma of war. And the fact that they have special educational needs like autism, ADHD, anxiety. So my main flag is if there's a mom who's in a difficult state, and my priority is to help the mom in the first days. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for sharing that experience. Can you say something about how then psychological first aid, and you can tell us what your experience is with psychological first aid, but where and how, and if perhaps psychological first aid fits into this approach that you have with the mums, and then of course psychological first aid for children with the children.
Yes, it helps observe progress, monitor progress from day one, and note which problems are persisting and create an individual plan. I'm not a psychologist, I'm a project coordinator, coordinating specialists and directing them, and we have experience with Bulgarian specialists because Bulgarian children with special needs don't have enough rehabilitation resources. And so our first aid is to register the child's condition. I've had a case when a child was withdrawn, sitting in a corner, and I established contacts, and the child went to a Bulgarian school. That was my first case.
Understood. So what we'll ask you to do is really to focus your case study on one situation. It can be a child or a group of children, but we want you to be as specific as you can while respecting confidentiality and child rights.
First, what we can do is just we have to get 100% sure that the child is in safety, and we have to transfer this to a child, this feeling of safety, and we have to work with the parents too.
Thank you very much indeed. All right. And for those of you who have to go, we appreciate you staying to the top, or actually 2 minutes past the hour. There's still 158 participants in the room. That is absolutely amazing. We've lost around 30 people. So this is quite remarkable. Think about it. How else could we connect this many people at the same time without having them abandon their duties, abandon their posts? Now, some of you may enjoy doing that in some cases. That's a separate subject. But we just want to focus on what is remarkable about this particular connection during this launch event. And I now would like to turn to two individuals who've been particularly enthusiastic, who've already contributed to this project, and to hear from them, both to share their experience as well as their reflections as experience, given their experience with PFA and mental health and psychosocial support. The first is Natalia Kornienko. So Natalia, I'm going to ask you to unmute your microphone and to ask you what you would like to share at this stage with this group, knowing that starting tomorrow they're going to have just 4 days to begin writing up their case study about a specific situation coming from their professional experience. Natalia doesn't seem to be responding right now. She may be having connectivity issues.
Hello?
Yes, Natalia.
Right. Thank you so much. Yes, it was a technical issues. I will be very short.
Мала технічна проблема. Я буду досить стислою. Для мене велика честь поділитися досвідом.
Because as we know, a million of Ukrainian children have been forced and leave their homes, including my own child as well. So I can share the same experience. So while we can reflect on various assessment of their lives and well-being, I want to highlight one crucial fact stands out, that all of them have lost their homes, all of them have lost their friends, and all of them have lost some loved ones who remain in Ukraine, and every aspect of their lives has been changed. So I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to each of you for your dedication and commitment. I think together we can make a significant difference in the lives of the children who need our support the most. So thank you for this.
Thank you very much indeed, Natalia Kornienko. Next, I would like to ask Nikolina to speak as well to this group. And again, both to share your reflections on what you've heard so far, of course, to introduce yourself, and also to share any experience that you'd like to share with the group, as tomorrow we'll be starting an intensive and rapid period of working together. Nikolina Stankovic, I'm asking you to unmute. You do have to, yes, okay. And you are, go ahead.
Okay, just a quick check. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so hello to everyone. I'm really honored to be here with you for the next 2 weeks almost. And I'm a psychologist working at the Christian Red Cross, providing MHPSS to different populations, mostly in the field of emergency settings and also in the field of migration. And currently I'm employed at the project that is supporting people from Ukraine and Croatia. So we are working on an individual level, but also on group level. We do a lot of community-based mental health and psychosocial support. And I'm really glad that there is this opportunity of all of us being here. I really think it's a unique experience having people from different perspectives and still having a very similar or the same goal, because all of us want to some extent learn new things, exchange some new knowledge, and improve the work that we are already doing. From the challenges that the colleagues already shared in the meeting today, it was interesting to hear that there is a lot of overlapping from the trainings that you also hear when we are providing the face-to-face PFA trainings with our staff and volunteers of the Red Cross, but also we are working a lot with teachers, with the Teachers Agency in Croatia, providing trainings to teachers and kindergarten staff on how to support children with migrational background. And what I hear from, I hope that during this course of the first week, we will have the opportunity to share the experiences, especially on how to navigate all those requests that are coming from children, but also their parents, as it was highlighted, the role, how important it is to support parents in order to support children. And I hope that through the case studies that will be presented, that we will also have some chance to maybe give some more clarity on the how we understand psychosocial support and how to when and how to apply the principles of psychological support. I'm sorry, and when we are already jumping into some therapy sessions, and sometimes it's hard to also find maybe the fine line between those interventions. And I hope also that in the case studies, we will also have some chance to discuss and reflect and give feedback or ideas or brainstorm on caring for staff and volunteers. This has also been pointed out as a very important part of delivering quality, the quality of interventions that we are delivering to beneficiaries, no matter if we are talking about the adults or the children, is of course also our well-being and how to ensure this part of caring for ourselves in order to provide quality interventions. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow and the following days on hearing on the case studies and the examples and sharing the experience. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Now we're going to go back to the selected participants. I know many of you have been waiting, were invited as guests of honor, and some of you, please do not be disappointed if the time is too short. In fact, we hope that will build your motivation to share your experience starting tomorrow, where there will be many opportunities to share your experience. So Charlotte, back to you, so you can guide me to who we shall hear from next. I realized, of course, that some participants have had to go to their professional duties, and that is completely understandable. But as a group, we decided to extend this session, and that is very much what we are going to do.
Okay, Reda, so we have Anna, whose mic is already unmuted, that we will listen to. Are you able to speak to us?
Тепло вітаю. Тепло вітаю всіх
Warm
колег.
greetings to everyone.
Я Тлустенко Алла.
My name is Alla Tulsenko. I have 5 university degrees, mostly related to psychology, and I'm a member of the Ukrainian Association of Psychologists, and I want to share my experience when it comes to the internally displaced children and work with children in the so-called grey zones. I work with women, with children who were released from captivity, and also I was consulting people online. But briefly, I want to mention that when I worked in the charity foundation, we had a lot of work done. About 2,000 consultations with children we conducted back then, and we wrote this program. We came up with this program, the overcoming of fears by psychologists in order to provide psychological first aid to children who suffered through the humanitarian crisis, lowering the stress, increasing the feeling of safety. We also set up a training for children called Positive Parenthood. There were group sessions, individual sessions. We will have an opportunity to share my experience further down. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. And what I've been showing on screen is in fact the guidance for the case study that will be shared with you a little bit later today, and that you'll be discovering really tomorrow, as we urge you to start working on your case study as soon as you can. Once again, you have 4 days to do a write-up. Now, it does not need to be, it needs to be good enough to be shared with your colleagues. The time is short, and that is deliberate. We know you are short on time. Now back to you, Charlotte. We'd love to hear some more cases, more experiences. I know many of you did think about and prepare to share today.
Yes, Reda, and we have Olena, whose microphone is already unmuted, over to you. If not, we'll turn once again to
Олена, доброго дня. Олена Шаповал, мабуть.
Hello, my name is Shapovalov Olena.
Мене чутно?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Я вас чую.
Да. Олена Шаповал, громадська організація
Olena
людей з
from
інвалідністю по зору.
the organization related to blind people. We work in the front line in the Donetsk area. We work since 2017. Our town is situated close by to the front line. A lot of internally displaced people came to us. The reason behind it that we have a school for blind children in our town, so we had to set up the organization dealing with viewing problems, and a lot of children, children with need of first psychological aid came to us, and children were very frightened. We work with music. When children are blind, it's very difficult for them to realize what's happening around them without seeing what's happening. In fact, all work was conducted by touching, and we worked together with specialists from a Caritas organization, and they helped us a great deal. They were setting workshops. We set up also the inclusive group where we had blind children, also healthy children who were displaced and escaping from war. All those. I have to. There's another person speaking. Can I carry on?
Yes, please.
Ось, і прийшла я сюди, хочу ще набратися.
I came here in order to get experience because I don't have much professional background, but we work for over 8 years, and I see the joy in children's faces. They need our work. They really want us to work with them. We write songs. We work with children, and I'm really happy to see the result of our work. And it's a very vulnerable category. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Back to you, Charlotte.
Yes, Reda, we have Pogvalitova. Elise, your mic is already unmuted. Please go ahead and do not forget to introduce yourself.
And just to say, before we hear from Pogvalitova, today is the launch event. Today we are freely and openly sharing any experience. You'll see that tomorrow we'll begin to really focus on and zero in a specific situation with a child or children, and then applying really the lens of psychological first aid to that situation. We realize for many professionals there's also a need to just share experience in general, and we'll be providing opportunities for that, for example, through the remote coffee that will be launching tomorrow as well. Pogvalitova, sorry to have interrupted you, and please, we look forward to your experience sharing.
Так, добрий день, рада вітати усіх і буду сьогодні.
Good afternoon. I'm very happy to meet everyone. I will be brief. I'm in Romania now, and I came here in order to realize the project helping the children. We want to help also people who suffered from human trafficking, from all sorts of violence. Of course, this is not only Ukrainian children and teenagers involved. We have children from other countries too. But at the minute, I work with Ukrainian children and teenagers, because Romania is in top 5 human trafficking countries in Europe. Of course, we have a lot of case studies, a lot of cases to work with, and we're trying to prevent children to avoid. We're trying to avoid the situations when they might be involved in human trafficking. We want to establish the psychological level of children who come to us, and a lot of children who come to us. We heard from children how difficult it is to find a way to communicate, basically, and many children were just refusing to speak, and that's why we set up the interactive book, which we published here in Romania, which helped us to communicate with children. And these tools are absolutely amazing. And I want to address our colleagues. If anyone wants to go ahead with those interactive books, I'll be so happy to share my experience. And when based on real cases, when something can happen to children and teenagers on internet or anywhere else, how can we deal with it? Who can we talk to? And I have this experience when there was a very difficult situation when we hardly could find the contact point to talk to children, but this interactive book helped us a great deal to build up this connection when child started to open up. That's why I tried to be brief, and thank you very much for your.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, it sounded like you have a potentially really valuable and interesting resource that you would like to share. And again, we'll be encouraging you and other professionals in the program to share resources. As Séverine Jacomi-Vité highlights, the program will not address all child protection issues, but we are indeed going to focus on that first contact and response to expressions of distress, not specialized mental health care. And we'll be clarifying that after this launch event during the first session for English speakers, and then 2 weeks from now in the first session for Ukrainian speakers. Thank you, Séverine, for this important clarification. All right, we have, I suggest we go for another 5 minutes, maybe to hear maybe one, maybe two other experiences shared, as I know many of you, especially for our guests of honor, were ready to do so. Do not worry if you do not get to share right now. Today, there will be many opportunities over the coming days. This is what we will be doing in the program, but with a much sharper focus really on the specific task of developing a case study. Back to you, Charlotte, who shall be our last or next to last speaker.
Reda, we actually have 2 microphones that are open. So say the last 2 speakers, and we'll start with Oksana, and then we'll go to Helena afterwards.
Okay, I'm ready. Maybe Oksana will be first.
Доброго дня ще раз. Hello again. I represent an organization in Poland. I work in Poland, and I wanted to share one of my biggest challenges with children's mental health. The absence of stability and certainty. These children have lost contact with their friends and relatives, and they're having to move all the time. And I also wanted to share a practical situation we've experienced. We hold 5-day sessions for children in first and psychological first aid. And one of the boys who attended these sessions was very active, and the team could not calm him down, but he was quite happy. And after the first day, when we were talking to the children, telling them that they were safe, that they were not alone, after the first day of these sessions, this boy's mum said, "Thank you for bringing me back my son, the son I used to have in Ukraine." She said that the boy used to be very similar to his peers, but when the war started and they fled, he became very angry and aggressive. He didn't want to communicate with other children. He lost his appetite. And after the first day of these sessions, the mum said, I recognize my son again. And she shared that medical specialists said, you just need to wait. But time passed and it got worse and worse. But after this session, he became affectionate again. He started to kiss her and hug her, sing songs, and like his food. So this feedback from parents tell us that psychological first aid is really effective and how it helps and how children change. Also, what we experience is that children often are diagnosed with hyperactivity disorder without understanding that this could be a post-traumatic effect. That's what I wanted to share.
Thank you very much indeed. And you covered many of the points that we'll be specifically asking you about in writing up your case study. Again, that there will be a time pressure because this is peer learning. You will have colleagues who depend on you submitting your case study on time, just as you depend on them in doing so. That is why, unfortunately, as we said in the information briefing and in the written communication, we won't be able to extend, but we'll give you everything we can to support you in actually doing the write-up in your case study. And we'll be talking more about that tomorrow. I believe, Charlotte, we may have time for one more to hear from one more person. Is it Elena?
Yes, Reda.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, hello. Are you hearing me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Elena, go
okay,
ahead.
okay. Hello, Patricia. I work as the protection monitor in Poland, in Warsaw. And the biggest challenge for me is the for children, Ukrainian children here in Poland, for example. And I will be glad to hear it, grasp technique, hospitalization, the situation, and the feeling of children and of people. It's very useful and it's really helpful there to feel good after the stress from the war in Ukraine. And it will be very short, and I think we will have more opportunities to share our experience. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that was short and focused on your challenge. Again, in the coming 4 days, what we're going to ask you to do is to write out a specific story, really focusing on a specific situation, what happened, and then following up on that, analyzing and reflecting on your story, examining how psychological first aid principles apply to that story, going a step further, analyzing the effect of the support you provided. How do you know it made a difference? And hopefully a positive difference at that. And then going even a step further, and this is really an opportunity to use your imagination to see how, from the experience and the situation that you described, you could develop an idea for a project to strengthen support to children beyond the one situation. So I believe that's it, unless, Charlotte, okay, I see there's still hands raised, but I do think unless there is someone who'd like to share a very short experience, we are going to, I believe we had, let me see. I'm going to turn to Séverine because I know there is one person that we wanted to hear from before we closed on specifically the question of social and emotional learning. Séverine, can you guide me, please?
Yeah. Yes, Reda. I mean, there are many people we'd still like to hear from, but I was wondering whether Esther want to say a word, because she will really guide us on the social and emotional learning during the program, if she's still online.
Yes, I'm still online.
A warm welcome to you.
Thank you. I'll just speak for a minute because I know our time is far gone, and I look forward to more engaging conversations as we dive deep into the program. My name is Esther Mbao. I'm the Psychosocial Support and Social Emotional Learning Coordinator at INI. INI is Interagency Network for Education in Emergencies. We are so honored to be supporting the Geneva Learning Foundation on this noble program to just equip others and be able to support the learners and the children when it comes to psychological first aid. We do have quite a number of resources on our website when it comes to psychosocial support, and we will be looking forward to supporting the foundation in more engagements, not just this one. But personally, I have worked with PFA back here. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya, and I've supported learners and children with PFA, and I have seen the results and what it does to be able to calm the children when it comes to psychosocial support. And so I look forward to sharing my experience and to guiding others as we go through this program. Back to you. I just said 1 minute, and thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Esther. And indeed, we hope you'll be one of the guides on the side, really listening and learning,
yes,
and sharing feedback and expertise and resources together with learners who'll be doing the same. I think
looking forward.
We really have come to an end, and there is one thing I would like to ask you to do, and that is, even if you are alone in front of your computer screen, and is to really bring up both of your hands, and you're going to hear something that is that I will do by pushing a button, but you can make it real by clapping with both of your hands and clapping, because this has been a remarkable first sharing and introduction to hear each other's voices, learn to listen to each other, and looking forward to the first intensive work session tomorrow. Once again, thank you very much indeed. And we can't wait to see you tomorrow for the Anglophones, and in 2 weeks you'll be getting to know in the coming days Yulia Yushchenko. She's we introduced her briefly. You'll be hearing much more from her in the coming days and weeks.